Hello degenerates and welcome to the Rag Reynolds conspiracy tier list ranking. And so we have a bunch of conspiracy theories down here. There are a lot. Some of these I've never heard of, and so I'm likely to be googling these in between just to have a quick read up on what they actually are. But basically we're going to be ranking them based on how true or untrue I believe them to be, or like if I think they're plausible at all. And so where the hell do we even start with this? Fake countries. Perfect. I've not looked at the fake countries. True. That's so easy. Did I inspire this? I hope I inspired whoever made this. Next, we're going to go with chemtrails. Chemtrails is one of those that I've never thought was that probable. I've always thought it was a bit unlikely or even absurd. Maybe even verging on mental illness, to be honest. I don't think chemtrails are a big thing. I'm going to put it in absurd. Barack Obama, not American. I think that's ridiculous, and I think people talking about that's a mental illness. Meds are overprescribed. That's true for sure. Meds are definitely overprescribed. I mean, I don't know what the conspiracy is about that. I mean, they just want to keep like the populace under control, like instead of letting them get too riled up and angry about the problems being caused by all these elites and whatever. I guess I think that makes sense. Meds are poison. I mean, I don't think they're poison in the sense that they're purposely poisoning us, if that's what it's trying to say. But I do think that meds are poison to the mind a lot of the time. I think that the best cure, well, not cure, but I think the best treatment when possible is to not take medication. I mean, I think medication's good, obviously. Like, if you're ill and it's going to help you, it's good to take. But stuff like painkillers and other things that aren't necessary to get you better, I think that it's better to avoid taking them where possible. I try not to take any meds at all. I'm going to put it in unlikely. GMO dangers. I mean, I definitely think that's plausible. I think there's definitely going to be some issues when you start genetically modifying food and stuff. I think there's definitely some cause for concern there. Secret cures. So this is like if, for example, there is a cure for cancer that the government has and they only give to the elites, or there's like that anti-aging stuff and all the rest of it. I think that it's maybe possible that's happening, but I also kind of think it's unlikely, because if it was happening, I think it's one of those things we would have heard a little bit more about. We would have examples of people who have are living forever, like people who are like 300 years old or something. Plus, like, secret cures. The more I think about it, I don't think there would be secret cures, because think of like Big Pharma. If they had secret cures that they could charge people for, like, they would be putting them out everywhere. They'd be trying to sell them. They'd be shoving them down our throats, like thousands of dollars and stuff, just to get some cure for whatever. If they could monetize that, I think they'd be all over it. I don't see why they would keep it secret. COVID exaggerated. Oh, for sure. I think COVID was definitely exaggerated. Now, that's not me saying that COVID wasn't a thing. I think COVID was very real, and I think it impacted a lot of people very badly, especially vulnerable people. I think people with respiratory illnesses and conditions, I think those people really did suffer, and I think a lot of old and vulnerable people were definitely at risk. I do think it was exaggerated largely, and when you see numbers coming out from like China at the start of this thing, I mean, I was covering this on my Medium Rare News channel when people were just like laughing about it, and I was talking about it like December 2019, before it became a big thing in like January, February, March, and people were like freaking out because there were all these videos and stuff coming out of China of like people turning into zombies and all this weird shit from COVID, and it was clearly like propaganda from certain people were pushing out to make out as like the world was about to end with COVID. And then obviously that's not what happened, and the disease spread and whatever, and it wasn't so bad. But just the stuff I've seen, it's definitely been exaggerated. And I've read so many like reports and stuff about death numbers and people who were dying of something else, but they ended up with COVID, and so it went down as a COVID death when really they were dying anyway. It's like that's what used to happen in hospitals with like pneumonia and stuff. Like pneumonia would be the thing that maybe killed them off in the end, but it's not what actually killed them, if that makes sense. Like, you might have been dying from terminal cancer and you had like days left to live, but then you catch pneumonia and suddenly your death's attributed to pneumonia. And that definitely happened a lot with COVID in hospitals and stuff. So I do think it was exaggerated, is my point. Plandemic, that's like people saying the pandemic was planned. I think that's unlikely. I don't think the pandemic was planned. I think I saw another one here. Yeah, the COVID lab leak. I think that is likely or partially true. I'm sure I've read stuff about operations and stuff in certain labs, and I think US involvement as well. I don't think it was necessarily just Chinese. I'm not that well educated, so I don't take any of this too seriously. I've not read any of this stuff in a long time, but from what I've gathered, I do kind of believe that that was some sort of leak. Is the COVID vax harmful? I think that's unlikely. I don't think it's harmful in general. I took the first 2 shots. I didn't take any boosters. I took the first 2 shots. I can't remember what I got. Was it Pfizer? I think it was Pfizer. I think that there's definitely concerns with any vaccine you take. There's concerns with any medication you take. There's always going to be side effects. I don't think the thing was largely harmful. If that was the case, we would be seeing people dying off in droves because of the amount of people that took this thing. I mean, most of the population of most countries took this thing, in the West especially. Like, in Scotland, like, most people took this vaccine. If it was really that harmful, we'd be seeing people dying off in droves. We have seen people dying and have said, oh, it might be COVID related with blood clots and stuff, and I acknowledge that. I'm not saying that it's 100% safe, and I'm not saying that we should have necessarily already taken it. But to say that it's just harmful completely, I think is just quite wrong, and it's irresponsible maybe as well to say. But yeah, I don't think it's necessarily harmful. It can be harmful, but lots of things can be harmful. If I was to go back and do it again, I probably wouldn't have taken it, and that's simply because I don't think I needed it. I got COVID after the vaccine as well. I don't think young healthy people needed it. I think it was for vulnerable older people. Anyone vulnerable, anyone with conditions or whatever, I think those people should have taken it, and that was fine. If the question came down to if this vaccine had restricted like the flow of COVID, if it had stopped transmission, I would have been campaigning. I would have said, yeah, everyone should take it. Everyone should take something that's going to stop that. But as soon as we knew that the vaccine was not stopping transmission, it was not stopping people getting it, then I thought it was ridiculous to say that anyone needs to get the thing. Because if it's not stopping someone else from getting it, then who cares? Like, if someone's going to not take it and die, then that's their choice, I guess. Even if it is a stupid one. Anti-vax is pretty absurd. I don't like the anti-vax thing. I think vaccines are good. I think the COVID vax is a different thing from anti-vax in general, but I still think that anti-vax is a bad attitude, and there's definitely a lot of damage that's done with that. HIV or AIDS being fake, that is a total mental illness. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? George Floyd overdosed. Is there not like an actual coronary report? Is there not a report that specifically says the cause of death was an overdose? Because if so, why is that a conspiracy? I'm not sure if that's the... I'm going to check this, actually. People might cry because I'm reading CNN to get this information, but oh well. Heart disease and use of fentanyl were contributing factors to his death, but not direct cause. Not a new autopsy, does not say he died of an overdose. Okay, I'm going to take this stuff at their word, and I'm going to put this down in absurd. I think that's absurd then. If I'm going to just believe what these things are saying. I don't think that it was. I mean, I've seen the video. The guy clearly kneels on him and he's going to choke him out. Like, it's quite clearly, like, and when I watched that video, I'm like, yeah, that guy definitely killed him. That police officer killed him. So I was kind of shocked when I read that it was an overdose, but I guess I never clicked on these articles. I tried, I wasn't really reading about it. I was not paying too much attention. So yeah, there we go. Either way, that police officer was definitely in the wrong. Epstein didn't kill himself. Like, is there ever been a conspiracy? Like, this has to go at the top, even above fake countries. Has there ever been a conspiracy that was more widely accepted than that? I have never talked to a single person who didn't agree that Epstein didn't kill himself. Like, no one I know believes this man killed himself. It is the most improbable thing in history. I would be more inclined to believe that you told me Jesus had come back to life and was walking through the streets and curing blind people. I'd be more inclined to believe that than I would to be believing that Epstein killed himself. There is no way that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. No way on earth. Like, I would bet anything that man was murdered. As to who murdered him, I have no clue, but someone bloody murdered him. Depopulation. I think this is the idea of, like, that people are like encouraging us to not. I don't think that's true. I don't think anyone's trying to depopulate. I think that's an absurd conspiracy theory. I think there is going to be a problem, like, from everything I've read, it seems that depopulation is going to become a big issue because the rates, especially in the West, young people are having children has dropped significantly. Like the margins are very, very small. We are not producing children at the same way as we did in the past. People are having less sex when they're younger, all the rest of it. And so I think that underpopulation is going to be a huge issue. And if we don't have AI and technology to replace a lot of like young man's jobs, this is going to be a big problem going forward. 9/11 inside job. I'm going to say unlikely. I know everyone memes about that and like people just say, yeah, it was definitely an inside job. But I'm not convinced. I've never seen any evidence that has actually led me to think, yeah, that happened. I mean, there's certain things that maybe it feels like, oh, that's a little bit weird, or maybe that convinced me a little bit, but nothing like, I've never seen hard enough evidence to be like, yeah, without a doubt, inside job. Fluoride. I think this is trying to say like it's dangerous and it's in the water. I don't know. I'm unsure about that. Ardenchrome. So this is like the blood harvesting thing, I believe. They're saying like people, these elites are like getting the blood to like make themselves younger or something, like blood of children. I think that's like bordering on mental illness, if I'm being honest. I don't see that being true. Alternative medicine, I'm going to put as unlikely. I do think that there's some stuff that aren't like actual meds. Like there's for sure some herbs and whatever are going to alleviate symptoms that you're feeling. Like of course. I mean, these medications are made from something. There are ways they work, but there are people out there, alternative doctors and all the rest of it. I think a lot of that's pseudoscience, and I'm not into it. Mainstream media is fake news propaganda. I think that's likely and partially true. I would say fully true, but I don't think it's fully true. I don't think they're always fake. I don't think it's always propaganda, but I mean, I think it's undoubtable. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. It doesn't matter if you're left-wing, right-wing, centrist. I think that all these news organizations, all the big ones, they constantly mislead people. They constantly tell lies. And it comes from all sides. And I don't think any side's worse than the other. I think they're all awful. Absolutely awful. Adolf Hitler death faked. I'm not too knowledgeable about this one. I think it's unlikely. I do. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think it's unlikely. Joe Biden body double. I think this is one of those where you're getting to mental illness territory when you start thinking people are body doubles. I'm not with that. Jeremy Corbyn in the KGB. I think that's pretty absurd. I don't think Jeremy Corbyn was in the KGB. I don't know anything about flight numbers. Like, I could know what this thing is, but I don't know what Flight 93 specifically is. Maybe if I searched it, I would know, oh, Flight 93, but I don't. Crisis actors, I think you get to a point there where it's just mental illness, to be honest. Like, what? I don't believe this crisis actors thing. I don't. I think that's mental illness. Anne Frank diary hoax. I've never heard this before, but I'm guessing they're saying that her diary was faked after the fact. I don't know what for. I mean, I guess that would be possible. It wouldn't be hard for people, especially back then, to write out a diary and say, hey, we found this diary of this Jewish girl and she was hiding and doing this. I'm going to say unlikely. Biden-Ukraine corruption. I'm not super knowledgeable about this one. I'm going to put it in plausible. This is one of those that I'm sure I've seen things. I'm sure I've seen a clip of Joe Biden talking about Ukraine, saying he called them up and said to get rid of this problem or we're stopping the money and stuff, and he laughs about it. Like he actually admits it just on stage. I'm sure I've seen that clip. You know what? I will be fair, and I'm going to put it in unsure because I'm not doing the research right now. I don't want to. It'll take me far too long to research everything here. So if I don't know for sure, I'm putting it in unsure because I don't want to say it's plausible when I honestly don't know. Same goes for 2020 election fraud. I am inclined to think that stealing an election as a whole is a bit absurd. I have also seen some strange things. Like I have genuinely seen clips of people covering up the windows in these polling stations and stuff for like evidence of certain ballots being counted over and over again. Does that mean I think it was enough to sway an entire election? Not necessarily. Does it mean I think that it was done on some grand scale that was a huge conspiracy? Also, no. Vote fraud itself, I mean, vote fraud happens in every election, I'm sure. Like, people commit fraud all the time and that sort of thing. So, but either way, I'm putting it down in unsure because honestly, I'm just not well educated enough or well read enough in this particular thing to make a serious statement about it. elite pedo rings. Oh, definitely. I mean, that's the whole fucking Jeffrey Epstein thing, isn't it? Like, he literally had this private island where he flew people out to and had them have sex with children. I mean, that is, I mean, and we know that for fact. This is not a conspiracy at this point. So, oh, that sign specifically says Hollywood pedophile empire. I don't know. I guess I'm going to put it in likely. I mean, I'm not sure the entire thing of Hollywood is actually that, but I mean, there's certainly some circles and some rings of this. Government spreads fake conspiracy theories. I think that's plausible. I think that the government likely does. I think it probably spreads fake conspiracy theories to mislead people and to throw them off. I mean, I'm hoping there's an aliens one here, but I think with aliens, that's a big thing. I think the government put out a lot of fake information about aliens to try and counteract people who maybe have real sightings of UFOs and stuff. Government agents triggered Capitol riots. This is another one. I try not to pay too much attention to recent US politics. Most of what I see is just in passing because I can't be bothered with current events these days. I think the world's a depressing place, and I think people are just very divided, and I can't be bothered with it. I think it makes no difference to me whether it was or was not triggered by Capitol riots, so I don't pay attention to it. I have seen videos of agents literally escorting people through the halls, and there seems to be no resistance and stuff. So I don't know, but that doesn't mean they triggered it. I mean, they might just be trying to keep things calm. I don't know. I simply do not know enough. So I'm not going to say that there's this big conspiracy when I don't know. I don't know what the Helen Keller thing is. I don't know anything about Harold Wilson, so I'm putting that there as well. I don't know about that. UK police cover up grooming gangs. This is another one. I've heard a lot about this, and I've spoken to people about this. People have mentioned it to me, and so from my understanding, there is something here, but I can't make any serious comment about it because I am simply not well read in it. I've not read about it, so I don't really know. Pro-Ukraine forces bomb Nord Stream, and pro-Russia forces bomb Nord Stream. Same again. I don't know enough about the situation. When I heard about it, I thought it was a bit strange, and I thought it would be like the Americans or something were behind it, but I'm talking out my ass. I don't know enough. Osama bin Laden death faked. I think that's highly unlikely. Ukraine war hoax. What do you mean? I mean, there's clearly a war going on, so what are you talking about? That's definitely mental illness. Russiagate. I think Russiagate was unlikely. I think that, I mean, love or hate Trump, I thought that if that man was seriously colluding with Russia, he would be in prison by now. Like, there is no, like, the amount of times they've gone after this man. I mean, there is no conceivable way he would still be free if there was genuine evidence of him personally actually colluding with Russia to do all this. Like, I don't see it. Does that mean I'm a huge Trump fan at this point in my life? No, it doesn't. But I genuinely don't see it. I mean, I thought a lot of it seemed to be over the top. I mean, I remember reading at the start of like the 2016 election, and there was this whole thing with the Hillary Clinton emails and whatever. And you got all these emails from the staffers. And you can read the things in there, and they actually pushed the thing. It was them who were pushing this whole Russia connection. So I don't know. I think a lot of that was just dirty politics. But I'm more convinced about that being unlikely than the other things down here. Because back in the day, I was reading a lot about that. At this point, no. It's been a while. Brexit vote fraud Pencilgate. I mean, this is another one that's like, I'm sure there probably was vote fraud, but I don't really know enough about it. Bohemian Grove, for sure. Like, I'm putting that unlikely. Bohemian Grove is definitely a thing. I don't know what they're saying about the Jewish question. I'm putting it in unsure, but I might want to put it in mental illness because that sounds bad. Coca-Cola death squads. I have no idea what that is. Forest fire hoaxes. That's mental illness. Holocaust exaggerated. I mean, right, holo hoax. That's mental illness. The Holocaust happened. Was it exaggerated? I think that's unlikely it was exaggerated. Like, I mean, you can, the reason I'm putting it there rather than absurd or mental illness is I think anything can be exaggerated. Like, people can always exaggerate numbers. People do that often. Like, everyone exaggerates, even if it's only by a small amount. Doesn't mean things were less bad, but people exaggerate things all the time. People exaggerate what they ate for breakfast this morning. So I think it's possible But I also think it's unlikely that they're exaggerating how many people died. So I'm going to put it there. I don't know anything about Voldemort, so I'm putting that here. Illuminati. I think the Illuminati is unlikely. I don't believe really in the Illuminati. MK Ultra. This is true. I've read some of these documents about the CIA using drugs and stuff on people. Like that is true. That is not just a theory. I know that's true. Princess Diana assassinated. I hear about that all the time, but I honestly have no knowledge about it. Social media government corruption. I'm pretty sure that's true. I'm sure that's true. I've seen the literal evidence of like government people. I've seen the documents and the correspondence of them talking to people at Twitter to get certain things like taken down and whatever. Does it mean I think it's a huge issue? Not necessarily. I don't know to what extent, but there's certainly some sort of corruption where the government are asking things to be taken down or censored and stuff. Flat Earth. No, I think that's mental illness. Syria gas attack hoax. I vaguely remember that from when it happened, but I don't remember enough about it to really make a comment. I don't know anything about the Armenian genocide. QAnon. I've tried my best to ignore everything to do with QAnon. I don't know anything about it, and so I'm putting it there. Pizzagate was one that sounded so bizarre. I'm putting that in unlikely. The only reason I don't put it in absurd is because we know Jeffrey Epstein was a thing. We know about these pedo rings and shit. So Pizzagate doesn't seem like too far off to me. That specific instance, though, and the stuff I read, it just seemed a little bit weird that there was no real evidence there. So I'm putting it in unlikely. I don't think it probably wasn't a thing. But I wouldn't be surprised if something like Pizzagate was a thing. UK Labour Party, I don't know what this even is trying to say. I'm putting it there. US killed Martin Luther King. I don't know enough about it. Fake news. What do you mean fake news? Like, obviously fake news is... Are you saying the idea of... I'm putting that unsure. There are so many here. Iraq weapons of... Oh, that one. There we go. That one's true. The Iraq weapons of mass destruction. Oh, that one's true. No doubt about it. I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about this. Egyptians were black or Egyptians were white. According to Google, the Egyptians were dark red. That means that both of these people are wrong. You are absurd and you are absurd. North Korea exaggerated. I mean, yeah, I think that's plausible. I think there's a lot of things about North Korea that people exaggerate for sure. I mean, it's still probably a horrible place, but I think people certainly exaggerate how bad it is. I think Russia's the same, and China. I think in the West, this US propaganda machine for sure exaggerates how bad their enemies are. Elite Satanism. I think that's on... Well, I said yes to Bohemian Grove. So we're putting that in plausible. Wagner Rebellion funded by the West. I don't know. I would believe that. That was during the Ukraine thing, wasn't it? I don't know enough about it. I'm going to have to put it in unsure. I don't know about this. I don't know about this. I don't know about this. School shooting host... No, that's a mental illness. Petrodollar... I don't know about this. Great Reset. I think that's plausible. The Great Reset is plausible. British... I know nothing about that. I know nothing about that. Know nothing about this. Psychics. I think psychics are a mental illness. For sure. I don't believe in psychics. Young Earth. I don't know what that is. 5G radiation is causing cancer and shit. I think that's absurd. Well, I'm going to say unlikely. I mean, who knows? No. You know what? Fuck it. Absurd. Alien technology. I believe that. I do. I believe in alien technology being... If the pyramids were not built by aliens, then the ancient Egyptians were just far more advanced than we ever gave them credit for. I think they were an advanced civilization. But I do believe that alien technology has been acquired on Earth and used. Planet X. No, I don't believe there's just this planet out there that's... No, I've read about that before. No. Alien abductions. Is there another aliens one here? Doesn't look like it. Alien abductions, I think it's very plausible. I do believe in aliens. I believe that UFOs have been seen. I've read the documents just recently. I'm very interested in the subject of aliens and extraterrestrials, and I read a lot about it. I listen to lots of podcasts about it, and I am 100% convinced that we have had contact with aliens. I believe that the government have had alien spacecrafts in their possession, and even life forms. As far as abductions go, I can't say for sure. I've never seen really things that have convinced me, because I don't know about what people giving testimony. Oh, this happened to me. Like, you could just be a crackhead. But I'm going to put it in plausible because I do think that if all these other things are true, and there are these vehicles, like, then, yeah, abductions are possible. Great replacement. I think that's absurd. I don't think people are trying to replace us. I don't think so. CIA drug trade. I think that's possible. Plausible. Government agents manufacture extremism. I think that's also possible. Astrology. It's a mental illness. If you're into astrology, you're mentally ill. Catholic Church pedophilia cover-up. Oh, that was for sure. Like, that's not even a question. I don't know anything about this. Intelligent design? I think unlikely. I don't think our design's that intelligent. Like, why are we eating and breathing through the same hole? That's not intelligent design. That's stupid. Chakras. Mental illness. It's like anyone who does yoga. Mental illness. Fortune tellers. Mental illness. Hallucinogenic spirituality. I'm going to put it in unlikely, but Ghosts and hauntings. I'm not a big ghost or hauntings believer, to be honest. I've never really experienced anything that couldn't be explained like that. So I'm going to put it in unlikely. I don't think it's quite absurd. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just I've never seen it. Area 51 aliens. Okay, I think aliens are for sure a thing. I don't think they're in Area 51. Like, for sure. I think that's highly unlikely that they're in Area 51. Oh, there is another alien thing. UFO alien sightings. True, 100%. Climate change hoax. No, I think it's absurd to say that climate change is a hoax. Is it exaggerated? Yes, I think it's likely exaggerated. Especially when you have literally a history for the last like 20 years, maybe more, of people saying, okay, we need to do XYZ before this date in 10 years' time or we're doomed. And then it hits that 10-year thing and they're like, actually, well, you've got still 10 years to fix this now. Or it's people, I've heard people say it's going to be the end of the world if we don't do this in the next 10, 15 years. Then we hit the 10, 15 years and nothing has happened. So it's definitely exaggerated. No question about it. It is exaggerated. Does that mean it's not a problem? No, it does not. I do think it's a problem. But I think, despite it being a problem, it is one that is greatly, greatly exaggerated. Humans and dinosaurs live together. No. Phantom time, I don't know what that means. Elite reptiles, that is a mental illness. Matrix/simulation theory, I think that's plausible. I think it's possible that we are in a simulation. Evolution hoax. No, I don't think evolution's a hoax. I'm going to put that in I'm going to put it in absurd, actually. Dead internet. No, I think that's unlikely. Mandela effect. I mean, the Mandela effect's a real thing. I don't know why is that a conspiracy? I'm putting that unsure because I think they must be referencing something else. Multiverse? Do I think the multiverse is a thing? Possible, yeah. New Coke. Don't know anything about this. Human cloning. I definitely don't think we're quite there yet. I'm going to put that... to be honest, I don't know enough about it. I'm putting it in unsure. Ancient civilizations. Sure, I don't know about Atlantis, but I think it's plausible there's ancient civilizations that... Oh, wait, they exist now? No, I think that's absurd. Alternate Earth shape. Absurd. Mental illness. Dinosaurs are fake. Mental illness. Cryptids. If anyone believes... No, mental illness. Dowsing. I don't know what this is supposed to mean. Einstein plagiarism. Don't know anything about that. Don't know anything about that. Don't know anything about that. Giants are real. Unlikely. Actually, I mean, you never know the size of people. Who knows? I don't know anything about this. I'm not that familiar with the JFK thing. I have to be honest, I'm not. Weather control tech. I believe they have weather control tech. I don't think that's unlikely. Water hormone pollutants. I've read the truth. They do. They turn the frogs gay. Titanic hoax. Yeah. I believe that. At least partially true. Don't know. Time travel tech. No, that's absurd. Don't know anything about this. Robot animals. Yes, because I know for a fact that there are robotic kangaroos. I've seen the evidence. I don't know what this means. Moon landing hoax. I think that's very unlikely. I've never seen any evidence that couldn't be just proven. It's like people talk about, oh, there's prints on the moon, but then they look at the boots and it's different. It's like, yeah, but there's boot covers, there's things they wear over the boots and those have the marks. Like, people are ridiculous, to be honest. They don't really have a clue what they're talking about, or they pick and choose different things, or people want to believe things, and so wanting to believe things will have them find things that confirm what they already believe, and they'll start thinking, look, here's the proof, but really you've not proven anything. You're just like leaning in towards something you already believed. Anyway, there we go, folks. This was my conspiracy theories tier list. There are a few on here that I would maybe change if I did it again. I'm not super confident with some of them, but there are others that I am. Anyway, if you want to do your own one of these tier lists, you can do it in the description down below. And until next time, goodbye.